Good morning. Good morning, Grenada. It is Friday, the 24th of June, 2022. Missy Chrissy in your company. You're locked on to K105.5 FM and, of course, GBN TV. Big up to everybody watching on the television as well as Facebook and YouTube. It's so good to have you all join us here this morning. Also, good morning to the Hot FM listeners. Indeed, we're in a stage in our lives where it's a public holiday in Grenada, and that is exciting because it means we get a little extra rest. It's been quite a hectic few weeks, especially if you've been following the election fever, if you were involved in campaigning for whichever party it was. And as we are waking up as well, we do have a new party emerging victorious in this general elections that took place yesterday. The NDC won in terms of the preliminary results 9-6, and we have more details for you on that one coming up in the morning edition of news in just about 10 minutes. We are going to keep the lines open today because I know there's so much that you have to say, you want to say as it relates to the general elections. We do have a special guest joining us as well, Dr. Wendy de Grenade. She's going to join us and really help us to analyze some of what went down yesterday and over the last few months as we've had, lots of election fever, I like to call it. All right. It is 24 minutes onto 7 o'clock this morning. It is Friday, and I might have to say Friday because, it's a public holiday. So if you're home enjoying it today, big up to yourself. And if you still have to go to work based on what you're doing for your job, it's all good. Good morning to you. And we're going to take you through quite a lot this morning. We're going all the way until 9 o'clock on radio, 8 o'clock on TV. And we're going to have the morning edition of news as well as the weather update for you. And also, we're going to dive into that conversation as it relates to the results of the general elections that took place in Grenada yesterday. All right. So the number is 435-2041. We'd love to hear from you, what you have to say as it relates to the results, the preliminary results, because there will be a recount today. All right. So the results are preliminary, and but people are already celebrating. There was quite a big celebration in Lasaja St. David last night, and we have some clips of that for you as well coming up in the morning edition of the news. All right. So there's so many reasons for you to keep it locked right here on Classic 105.5 FM. And we will have Gary, Mr. Smooth, joining us as well on the Hot FM side. So we're eager to link up with him in just a short. In the meantime, you can call me. I have a few minutes to take your phone calls. 435-2041 is the number. My eyes are also on the WhatsApp, and I'll pull up the Facebook page as well in case you're up bright and early, ready to air your views, whether it's to say congratulations or better luck next time to either side of the fence as it relates to the general elections that took place yesterday in Grenada. Though results are still preliminary, of course, but I think it's clear to say that it's almost final, right? Based on what we're hearing from both political parties, both major political parties in Grenada. All right. So I see that we have Bekwe in the house. Good morning to you in the Grenadine Islands. It's good to have you in. Casilda is saying, congratulations to you, Grenada. God bless the new Prime Minister. I am happy for him. Another one is saying, good morning. Way to go, Lucita. We have Clyde saying good morning. So good morning to all of you. And if you'd like to call us or link us up on the WhatsApp, the number is 435-2041. And you could put that 473 in front of it as well. All right. So yeah, man, we're having some good conversation today, and I'm really excited to dive into what you have to say as it relates to the general election. All right. So I'll leave you with this one in the meantime, and the phone lines are open. Let's listen to this track coming out from Akeem featuring Deva. It's called Out My Shine.
I am mean. You are now rocking to the magical sounds of the one named Bob the Phoenix, alongside Deva and Akeem. Reminding you to keep your heads up, keep your meds up, keep your confidence. thumbs up. Chuck. From me a little boy in a Palmer school, ambition always on peak. Heart of a winner, but calm and simmer, always stay cool, coming never like heat. Peace and love in my heart from day one, since the days of pencil.
So we have a caller on the line. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning. Is it a holiday today?
From what we are hearing so far, it is a public holiday.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good.
All right.
For a long, long time, so you cannot put out my shine, no matter how you try. Bad mind, you cannot put out my shine and glowing for a long, long time, so you cannot put out my shine, no matter how you try. Bad mind, you cannot put out my shine.
Good morning, caller. You're live on Good Morning Grenada.
Good morning, ma'am. A while ago, I heard you mention that today is a public holiday. Can you tell us a little more about that?
That's what I received from my producers. I'm told that it is a holiday. I do know that from what I heard myself from Deacon Mitchell is that he would request a holiday, but I did receive from my producers that it is a holiday. So perhaps we can confirm that throughout the course of the morning for you.
Information like this because it's sending a different message out here to people and so on. People who are preparing for work and otherwise, you see.
Definitely.
These matters have to be clarified. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for calling. Indeed. That's the message. That's the information I received so far, but I'm happy to even triple check that for you, okay?
Still going up, them underestimate them, can't believe us. Snap on the ice grades, them we are off. Couple hard girl, not the fix marathon. I run the streets, my dead, you're the whole thing tough. I'm still on one phone when the thing rough. What put mommy in a car when the thing tough. Couple bad bread and them link up. Everything up, bad mind can't defeat us.
Peace and love in my heart from day one, since the days of pencil and crayon. Till this day, the fire still blaze on. Rastafari, I never stray from. Crime and hate in my mind is seldom. Here only upward thoughts are welcome. Me a free up my heart, free up my heart. Made changes from the start. I'm glowing for a long, long time, so you cannot put out my shine, no matter how you try. Bad mind, you cannot put out my shine. I'm glowing for a long, long time, so you cannot put out my shine, no matter how you try. Bad mind, you cannot put out my shine.
And it's just about 17 minutes onto the hour of 7 o'clock this morning. You're locked on to Good Morning Grenada with Missy Chrissy. Gary Mr. Smooth will link up with us in a short, so he's going to join us on the Hot FM side. But we are rolling on live here on Good Morning Grenada until 8 o'clock. But of course, I'm here also until 9 on Classic 105.5. So as you see on your screens, it says today, June 24th, is a public holiday as announced at an NDC rally on Thursday, Victory Rally on Thursday night. Saturday, June 25th and Sunday, June 26th are designated as National Days of Prayer and Thanksgiving. All right, so that's the information we have here at the GBN. All right, we're getting ready to head into the morning edition of the news, where we give you a little bit more details about the elections last night. In case you don't know all the details, you might have been sleeping on the rock. But we have that for you. Gary, I know you're logged on as well. Good morning. All right. So we're going to link up with Gary on the flip side of the hour. In the meantime, morning edition of the news up for you.
Orange and lemon lime. protect gasoline and diesel. Available only at Rubis stations.
Grill Master invites you to its new dining experience. Middle Eastern grill food, appetizers, salads, and Grenada's finest local cuisines. Join us for local breakfast, lunch, or dinner. At Grill Master, dine and feel the aroma of Middle Eastern spices blended with fresh local herbs and spices. Taste and feel the Caribbean mixed with Damascus and Beirut cooking styles. All Middle Eastern menu items available for free delivery. That's right, free for Middle Eastern menu orders over $50. Delivery available throughout St. George's every day, including Sunday and public holidays between 11 a.m. to 9.
Is the GBN Morning News for today, Friday, June 24th, 2022. Today declared a public holiday as the National Democratic Congress begins its transformation process following its victory at the polls on Thursday. In the region, opposition in St. Vincent calls for reinstatement of workers fired over COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Internationally, EU awards Ukraine and Moldova candidate status. And in sports, CPL to launch inaugural T10 tournament, the 60 in August. With the news in detail, I'm Chrislyn Lashington. The National Democratic Congress toppled the New National Party, winning 9 seats to 6 from the next government. 44-year-old Deacon Mitchell, a lawyer by profession, is the Prime Minister-elect for the state of Grenada. Mitchell takes the reins of power from long-standing outgoing Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell in what is considered a historic defeat as a newcomer to politics 8 months after taking over leadership of the NDC. The NDC also creates history for Grenada and the OECS as Karine James, elect parliamentary representative for St. John and a former senator, will become the youngest elected MP to hold such position. The victorious NDC candidates are Deacon Mitchell, St. David, Andy Williams, South St. George, Ron Redhead, St. George Northeast, Tevin Andrew, Carriacou and Petit Martinique, Lennox Andrew, St. Andrew Southwest, Karine James, St. John, Joseph Andel, St. Patrick West, Dennis Cornwall, St. Patrick East, and Philip Telesford, St. George Southeast. Deacon Mitchell led Congress to a 9-6 victory over outgoing Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell and his new national party, NNP. The successful seats for the NNP are Dr. Keith Mitchell for St. George Northeast, Emmeline Pear, St. Andrew Southeast, Delma Thomas for St. Andrew Northwest, Clarice Modeste Cohen for St. Mark, Kate Lewis Peters for St. Andrew Northeast, and Peter David for the town of St. George. The National Democratic Congress has emerged from the doldrums and political wilderness. The party swept to victory in the June 23rd general elections in the Tri-Island state of Grenada. Hardly seen among pundits as a likely winner, the NDC, which has long dwelt in the political wilderness, romped home to a 9-6 victory under the astute leadership of 44-year-old attorney Deacon Mitchell of the rural parish of St. David. Mitchell ran on home turf advantage, a move which was passed and parried by many, including well-known Caribbean pollster Peter Wickham. It was the final weekend of October 2021 when young Mitchell emerged victorious at the NDC's convention held virtually because of COVID-19 regulations. He stayed the course despite being dismissed as being too young and green for leadership in some quarters, including the then ruling New National Party. His emergence sparked calls for younger blood at the helm of the NNP, which has been led for decades by 75-year-old Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell. The older Mitchell has been Prime Minister of Grenada since 2013. Previously, he served as Prime Minister from 1995 to 2008 and from 2013 to present. He has been the longest-serving Prime Minister in Grenadian history, holding the office for more than 19 years. Up to early Friday morning, Prime Minister Mitchell issued no concession speech, leaving the honors to party chairman Roland Bola. Bowler, once tipped to take over the party, told a local reporter on Thursday night that the 9-6 defeat was not in keeping with the polls conducted by the party. There was jubilation throughout the country as the results gave the National Democratic Congress a clear lead in the polls. Scores of party supporters converged at the La Sagesse St. David for the celebration rally after the preliminary results put the NDC governing position. Political leader of the NDC, Dickon Mitchell, addressed the crowd the party's victory for the people.
Oh, what a sight to behold. Because let us give thanks to God for the day and the night that He has made. Let us give thanks to God for the day and the night that He has made, and for ensuring that all of P.T. Martin, Carrickville and Grenada got through today safely, peacefully, and democracy, freedom, and the power of the people, 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 the power of the vote, the power of the vote, the power of the vote has spoken clearly, loudly, and Grenada, the people of P.T. Martin, Carrickville and Grenada, this victory is yours.
Deacon said he will call on the Governor General, Dame Cecile Lagrenade, to declare today a public holiday and Saturday and Sunday as national days of prayers.
Let us give thanks to God for the day and the night that He has made, and for ensuring that all of P.T. Martin, Carrickville and Grenada got through today safely, peacefully, and democracy, freedom, and the power of the people, the power of the people.
On the sister isle of Carriacou, the MP-elect Tevin Andrew addressed jubilant supporters, but his message to the youth was that his success after a defeat at the polls in 2018 is a demonstration that they too can achieve success despite their economic and social circumstances.
When I think about growing up in Machela, sometimes nothing to eat, little or nothing, giving of service, and how we struggle, and graduating. This is a boy that they make all fun of. Look at him today. I'm saying to you, young man, young woman, regardless of your circumstances, for the stars of there, because the sky is the limit. And let no man, let no boy, let no girl or anybody stop you from achieving what you truly want. If Tevin from Machela can do it, then so too you can do it. You too can achieve it. But we got work to do. We got work to do, sisters and brothers. On my way to Parliament as your next member of Parliament, as your MP elect. Thank you.
St. Vincent's opposition leader Godwin Friday is again calling on the government to reinstate public sector workers who were dismissed over their failure to take a COVID-19 vaccine. He made the appeal as he lamented that residents were trying to figure out how to make ends meet amid cost of living increases that include the prices of gas and food. He said it is going to create tremendous hardship, and especially for those people who don't have employment, for those people who the government has laid off because of the vaccine mandate. Noting that authorities in countries around the world were calling back workers who were dismissed over the vaccine mandate, Friday added, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the category of frontline workers was broadened, so much so by the government that it pulled in a lot of people who did not fall properly within the category. And so they need to now revisit that position, give the people back their work, give them back their benefits. Now on to international news. President of the European Council, Charles Michel, has announced that Ukraine and Moldova have been both granted EU candidate status. Ukraine applied days after the Russian invasion in February, and the process moved at a record speed. Its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, hailed Thursday's decision. The mayor of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, former boxer, paid an emotional tribute to his fellow citizens resisting the invasion. Candidate status is the first official step towards EU membership, but it can take many years to join, and there's no guarantee of success. Also in international news, Germany has taken a step closer to gas rationing after a drop in supplies from Russia. The country has triggered the alarm stage of an emergency gas plan to deal with shortages, Germany's economy ministry said. It is the latest part of a standoff between the European Union and Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. German economy minister Robert Habeck said Russia was using gas as a weapon in response to EU sanctions. Mr. Habeck said there would hopefully never be a need to ration gas for German industry, but he added, of course, I can't rule it out. That's international news. Now on to sports. The 10th season of the Caribbean Premier League will launch with a T10 tournament named the 60, which organizers hope will become a quarterly event that can be staged around the region and beyond. The inaugural season will take place from August 24th to 28th in St. Kitts, immediately before the CPL season, and will feature matches between all 6 men's franchises and the 3 women's teams, with squads expected to be at 85% strength. The format is predominantly a T10 competition, but features several notable differences. Each batting team has 6 wickets rather than 10. Batting teams can unlock a floating third power play over by hitting 2 sixes in the initial 2-over power play. Teams will bowl 5 consecutive overs from each end rather than switching ends after each over. If teams fail to bowl their 10 overs within 45 minutes, a fielder will be removed for the final 6 balls. Fans will be able to vote for a mystery free hit via an app or website. The tournament will launch in partnership with Cricket West Indies, who have become the first full member board to create a T10 competition. Chris Gayle will act as an ambassador for the 60, and West Indies players will be available after their one-day international series against New Zealand, which finishes on August 21st. Some overseas players are also expected to arrive early to play in the tournament, though a clash with the end of the hundreds group stages will rule some out. Russell expects franchises to use the 60 as a scouting opportunity. Let's recap the headlines. Today declared a public holiday as the National Democratic Congress begins its transformation process following its victory at the polls on Thursday. In the region, opposition in St. Vincent calls for reinstatement of workers fired over COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Internationally, EU awards Ukraine and Moldova candidate status. And in sport, CPL to launch inaugural T10 tournament, the 60, in August. That was your morning edition of news right here on Classic 105.5 FM and GBN TV. Stay tuned for the weather update.
Grill Master invites you to its new dining experience. Middle Eastern grill food, appetizers, salads, and Grenada's finest local cuisines. Join us for local breakfast, lunch, or dinner. At Grill Master, dine and feel the aroma of Middle Eastern spices blended with fresh local herbs and spices. Taste and feel the Caribbean mixed with Damascus and Beirut cooking styles. All Middle Eastern menu items available for free delivery. That's right, free for Middle Eastern menu orders over $50. Delivery available throughout St. George's every day, including Sunday and public holidays between 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Book your table or place your free delivery order at 439-3737, 439-7733. WhatsApp number 423-3737. Caribbean, Middle Eastern cuisine. So tasty. Grill Master, second to none.
26.8 degrees Celsius. Over the past 24 hours, we had no rainfall at the airport. The total for the month remains at 86.6 millimeters. Now for the public forecast for Grenada, Carriacou, Piti, Martinique, Valley for today and tonight. The weather is expected to be generally fair and breezy, becoming partly cloudy at times with the isolated shower. Today's maximum temperature should reach 31.5 degrees Celsius. The wind should be easterly to east-southeasterly at 15 to 25 miles per hour. The sea should be slight to moderate with waves 3 to 5 feet in open waters. The tide is currently rising, will be high at 12 noon and low at 6:15 p.m. Sunset today 6:35, sunrise tomorrow 5:45. To repeat the forecast, the weather is expected to be generally fair and breezy, becoming partly cloudy at times with the isolated shower. From the Maurice Bishop International Airport, Jason Robertson reporting.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. That was Jason Robertson, I think, from the Met office there. And we are heading right back into Good Morning Grenada right here on GBN. Good morning, Gary. All right, Gary, we can't hear you for some reason. I'm not sure why, but we are definitely still here. 3 minutes after 7 o'clock, we are inside Good Morning Grenada, and we are definitely opening up to your phone calls. We will have a guest in studio as well, as we're going to analyze what has happened over the last few months, but especially yesterday with the general elections that took place in our great country. All right, so stick around for that conversation. Gary, how we're sounding on your end? Okay, for some reason we're still not hearing you, so we're gonna work on that. We apologize for the technical difficulty. In the meantime, let's head over to the phone lines. Good morning, you're live on Good Morning Grenada.
Good morning, Mr. Chrissy, and good morning to Mr. Gary, Mr. Smooth. Well, this morning I want to say a big congratulations to the NDC party. I want to, when I look at Deacon Mitchell, when in a few months, it's about 7 to 8 months, and I look at him, I follow him on the television, and I never see he display any aggressiveness. He always calm. I never see he look drained or, he always there, kind of, what I should say, the word leaves me. And that is good for us. I want to say a special congratulations to Kevin, because in my following up the thing, that when he lost before, that didn't slow him down. In my understanding, from the people of Carriacou, he still continued to go on to do what he was doing before. Well, everybody was expecting Andy was going to take it, and this new team that just come into in a few months gain victory. It's a real, the words live in me. But I want to say to you, in my observation, why that they didn't get more seats. And in my looking, my talking to people and listening, the NDC have lots of supporters, but they are not voters. I will tell you, and I do not know if anybody can answer for me. Gary, answer, kind of help me out, help me to understand.
You said the NDC, but you meant the NMP, right?
No. NDC leader Dr.
Okay, so you
Deacon Mitchell.
Okay, so why they didn't get more seats?
More seats, okay, and I'm going to tell you why. No, somebody help me out. They have a lot of supporters, but not voters. And I'm going to explain. The supporters, and this is facts, some people in the higher category, not me and you are going in the hot sun. The people in the higher category, they support, they give gifts, they contribute, they all election day. Gary, you wouldn't believe. Election day, those people was going from polling station, dropping food and so on. And would you really believe that those people would vote? No. And I would like to know why they're supporting with their finance, their time, but they're not voting. And when I understand that, I want to know why. Can Gary help me out here? Why? What is the logic behind? They're supporting in every way, and not the poor people, the people up. And when come to election day, they finger clean, they're not voting, they don't need to vote. So I'm going to leave you with that question. You're not good at answering my question, but I'm going to deal with you. So please, help me to understand why. And I believe Deacon Mitchell will do very well. I believe so.
Thanks a lot.
Because, Gary, I've decided when I come back to Grenada here, I've decided I was an NNP all my life. And when I look what's happening, I say I'm not voting again ever here in Grenada. But, Gary, when they put this young gentleman, I look, I observe, I analyze, and then I said, I'm going to give him the vote.
All right, well, happy that you exercise your civic duties, all right?
Oh, yes.
All right, well, we got to move on to the next caller now, Yeah.
Pardon me?
I said we have to move on to the next caller now.
Yes. Go ahead, darling, go ahead.
So very much, all right?
Okay, well.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you so very much. Well, let me officially say good morning, folks. Good morning to you, Missy. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Welcome. It's a new day.
It's a new day indeed.
It's a Friday. And today signifies a new beginning in more ways than one. All right. So let's once again welcome the viewers on Facebook. You guys are here with us. Welcome. And let's get this show on the road. All right. We just came out of the news. And here we are. Who would have thought, who would have guessed? You might have, but here we are today talking about post-elections. All right.
We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live on Good Morning Grenada.
Good morning, both of you. I'm so happy, in that victory. Well, after I heard Dr. Mitchell, on Monday with that interview with George Wom, talking about how they can have damage the industry brand and mark my word, blah, 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 I was like, is Dr. Mitchell really on the ground? Does he know what is going on? But happy am I that, the victory came true. What I appreciate about that victory is the fact that today is a holiday, and the first thing is to give God praise, a day of worship on Saturday and Sunday. I love that because, we tend to call on God during the campaign and we neglect him and sideline him. After that, I hope that this will be a thing of, continuous, because even in our anthem, we talk about ever conscious of God, but yet we put, like, we know the issue of homosexuality and lesbianism, the world is gravitating towards that, and they have to understand that God put up and God takes down, and they cannot leave him out. We tend to believe sometimes that we could do things on our own, but it's God, except he keep the city, except he do things, our labor is but in vain. So we have to always remember, no matter what the world may think, when we have God on our side, we have everything. So I'm just happy about that victory, but the work ahead is just starting, because Grenada have been a state where they have been in a kind of dependent state. Things are happening here, but for a certain section of people, and so much of politics polarizing everything. I'm so elated and happy that we are here today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, caller. Yes, indeed. How was your day yesterday, Missy?
My day was long.
Like many people.
It was a very long day, but I think it was exciting to observe the elections. It felt like it was like I was watching sports, especially when like I said, I think the calm from the day before, from Wednesday, trickled into Thursday, even though there were long lines everywhere, short lines some places. But there seemed to be a sense of calm from what I observed. And then as the night came on, I felt like it became a very exciting sports match. It seemed like that, where one person's in the lead in this constituency and then it flips over based on seeing the numbers coming in. And I think that was definitely something that was exciting. And I think it was great to be part of witnessing that process from various vantage points, because I was behind the scenes with a production, and I think it's good to be part of that. What about yours? How was your day?
Well, I saved the latter part of the day to go exercise my civic duties, thinking that would significantly shorten my waiting line, but that didn't really happen. So I stood in line for the better part of 2 hours before I eventually got to.
Wow, that was a long time.
Yeah. But I was entertained with the voters around me, so it made the wait a whole lot lighter.
Entertain? How did they entertain you?
Light, fun, a light-hearted chatter, So that was pretty cool.
Right.
I had a few laughs as I wait to go cast my ballot.
Excellent.
That helped a lot. So
all right.
Big shout outs to the Northeast people for of course doing your thing in the sense that you exercise your civic duties.
Indeed. Right? We have a call on the line. Good morning, you're live.
Yes, good morning, greetings, and greetings to the nation. First, let me congratulate the NDC on their victory. This is only an electoral victory. So don't get out-headed yet, because there are a lot of things to do in this here country still. But whereas it's nothing surprising nor phenomenal, what is phenomenal is that there is a concept in the world, cause and effect. And they said that whereas exists the phenomenon of cause and effect, nothing is permanent. Nothing, absolutely nothing lasts forever. And I'm happy. That's why they say also that change is the only constant. I laud and applaud the people of this country for having taken the decision to choose a new path, a new leadership for the country through the vehicle of a political party. But what I want the message to go across, that the duty of the political party forming the new administration shall be, to lead the country for all, not to make the mistake of going back into the same old thing. And that leads me into the other thing. A while ago, I heard that today was a public holiday. So, of course, I questioned it. I wasn't clear on it. I didn't know. All I was told I was sleeping under a rock. Comment coming from you, young lady. No, I was sleeping under a rock. Today, if declared a public holiday, has to be done in the proper way. Now, where does this quote-unquote Prime Minister-elect come from? We do not elect Prime Ministers in this country. Dickon Mitchell is not Prime Minister-elect. He is a Member of Parliament-elect. So he has no authority legally to declare public holiday. Who has the authority is the Governor General, or so-called Governor General. But I haven't heard the individual say a word.
Let me cut you, sir.
Proclamation.
He has taken that path, has he not? Those were his words. He would go through the Governor General. So I just want to make that clear.
People are confused whether or not to go to work today. Businesses are confused whether they should open their doors or not. So this distorts everything. But then we make this tradition. So we allow tradition. And this is the problem. We've got it on the wrong foot. But nonetheless, let's see how it works out. There are many other things that we need to talk about on this election, but we may come back later, so we give somebody else a chance for the moment. But pay attention to what we say. We do not elect prime ministers in this country, so Dickon Mitchell is not prime minister elect. He's a member of parliament elect. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Mr. Rollo.
Thank you so much. He's absolutely correct.
He's absolutely correct.
The parliament is the one who, once parliament is back, that's how it is. All right. So thank you so much for your contribution there, and we are going to take a quick break because we do have someone who is very versed in political science in the building, Dr. Wendy Grenade, and we'd love to get her set up and ready to join the conversation. And of course, we will keep the lines open as well. So keep it locked right here. This is Good Morning Grenada.
Introducing Color by Sissons. 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 Color by Sissons.
Do more with your new GUT Credit Union Visa debit card, which gives you access to your cash at any Connex or Visa certified ATMs locally and internationally. Make your payments with a tap of your card using the contactless feature and have the freedom to make purchases locally, online, or overseas whenever you travel, anywhere Visa is accepted. Experience the enhanced security fraud protection through the Visa chip technology. If you don't have your new GUT Credit Union Visa International debit card, speak to any one of our representatives today to do more. Your new GUT Credit Union Visa International debit card, a smarter way to access your cash. More smart, more secure.
This is a message from the Parliamentary Elections Office on the demonstration on marking the ballot. In the sample ballot seen here, 3 candidates are named along with their addresses and occupations. Next to each candidate's name is his or her symbol. A voter is expected to place his or her mark in the open space next to the symbol of his or her chosen candidate. If a voter makes a mistake while marking the ballot paper, he or she can return to the presiding officer and ask for a new ballot paper. Remember, the casting of your ballot is secret. Therefore, no one will know the candidate you voted for. A message from the Parliamentary Elections Office.
Have you heard about the new Soft Weave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Soft Weave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue, available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Soft Weave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
Welcome back to Good Morning Grenada. We are here. We are about to have a very fruitful conversation as it relates to politics in Grenada. Missy Chrissy here. We have Gary, Mr. Smooth, also in the building. And we are officially welcoming Dr. Wendy Grenade. She is a senior lecturer of political science at the University of the West Indies, based in Barbados. But of course, she's on home soil at the moment. So good morning to you, Dr. Grenade.
Good morning. Good morning to you and to your viewers and listeners as well.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. I assume you did you come back for the elections, or you're just here at this time?
Well, I came back for different reasons, part of which was the elections, yes.
Okay.
But I'm always home, Crystal.
Excellent. So it's good to have you home. I mean, we've observed I don't know if you would say a shorter than usual election season, because it came quite quick in terms of the announcement by the Prime Minister, the date for elections. What would be just your overall opinion on this short election season?
Well, despite the fact that it was a short election season, it was just amazing, the campaign. I have never seen an election campaign that was so dynamic. The techno-democracy in terms of how you use social media, and then the town hall meetings. I mean, people were just engaged. Young people, the elderly. Something was happening in the society. And the campaign, for me, it lifted the discourse from where, we usually do the mudslinging and so forth and so on. And we saw a very sophisticated campaign, particularly run by the NDC. I must say, first of all, I want to congratulate Mr. Deacon Mitchell, the political leader of the NDC, who would be, I assume, sworn in as Prime Minister. And all the members of the new the National Democratic Congress, and all the candidates who contested. I also want to thank Dr. Keith Mitchell for his years of service. I'm not saying that he's over, but that is over. But I think we have to remember that when we think about the two main political parties, they have supporters. And to the supporters of the NDC this morning, I know you're rejoicing, and it's time to celebrate. To the supporters of the NNP, we have to be mindful that people may be confused, they may be hurting, and Grenada belongs to all of us. And I want to say that in the rebuilding process, we have to be mindful that in a democracy and with the winner-take-all electoral system that we have, one side wins all. But that does not mean that a government must govern then you then have to govern in the interest of all, even as you win all the seats. I'm not sorry. Even as you would have won the election, the challenge is to govern in the interests of all. So I want to commend the NDC, the executive, the young people who were behind the social media campaign, and the message. I think for the first time, the message was one that was pro-Grenada. Normally we hear, it was about, what this party did not do right. But what we heard was, a message that was saying, don't we need more? A transformative message. And I think that resonated with a lot of people. And if I may say, Crystal, it's difficult for a political party to win an election just based on its base, when there is a two-party system and both parties have been energized and fortified. And I think the NDC did a better job of having a message that resonated with the independent voter. So, for example, when Dr. Mitchell would say, give me the vote, I deserve it, I work for it, that offended a lot of independent voters, because they saw it as a sort of entitlement. It resonated well with the base, but is the base sufficient to win an election when both parties are strong? Because there is generally a bulk, a segment of the electorate that would vote one way or the other. And so what we saw yesterday was amazing for democracy. In many parts of the world, people don't have an opportunity to vote. So you stand in the line, whether it's for half an hour or 3 hours, and you exercise that right without any kind of violence. And we cannot take that for granted. I think Grenadians, we should be proud of ourselves, because what happened yesterday is a transfer of power from one party to the next that would happen today, and in a peaceful way. And I think that's healthy for democracy. It's very exciting, and I think there's a lot that we can look forward to. And I guess we'll speak a lot about some of the challenges in terms of governance that the new NDC administration would face. Yeah.
Well, quite a comprehensive overview there, Dr. Grenade. Thank you so much. Now, I know that a lot of people predicted different things. They were saying that the polls were leaning in favor of the NNP prior to, of course, the general elections. And one thing Gary and I spoke about on the show is that while there is quantitative data, I do feel that the qualitative data was missing from some of the polls and predictions that we saw in the past. How important is that qualitative aspect of, doing the canvassing and predicting the results of a general election?
The qualitative is very important. I was observing and I was feeling something. You can't define it. You can't put your hand on it, but you are feeling in your gut that the society is shifting. And I remember about 2 days ago, I was on Grandans Beach and I said to some gentlemen, very well-known NNP supporters, I said, it would be 9-6 in favor of the NDC. And they didn't understand what I was saying. I said, no, it will be 9-6. I was feeling something in the society because there's incumbent fatigue. And the children in NNP households, they have grown up. And I was speaking to a lot of young people and they would say, I want better for my children though. NNP is all I have known, but they needed to get a leader that would come to them and say, you can be more. There's more available. You can be all that you want to be. You don't have to settle for where you are. And I think what Deacon Mitchell brought is an inspirational leadership that was non-confrontational, that was sobering and refreshing. And I think he enhanced the NDC brand. I don't agree with Dr. Mitchell that he damaged the brand at all. The NDC always had an anti-Mitchell message, and that damaged the NDC. They never came to the electorate and said, this is what we would do for Grenada. Can Petit Martinique become a hub for renewable energy in the Grenadines? I heard Deacon Mitchell say. The NDC before this period, it was about anti-Kit Mitchell, anti-Kit Mitchell, anti-Kit Mitchell. And what are you offering? And I think that was fundamentally different in this election. We heard ideas, and I think we had gotten accustomed to politics without ideas. And ideas are important for any civilization, for any society. You need to be grounded in big ideas. It means, how then do you translate these ideas to action, to policy that could be implemented? That's another story. But you have to be dreaming about something large. And I remember I wrote a piece, and I was saying, Grenada is on the eve of its 50th anniversary of independence. And what Grenada can we imagine or reimagine going forward into the next 50 years? And I think if you ask the voters who already made the difference yesterday, they want a new Grenada. And that was the crux of the matter. So it was an elections that really was a referendum on two Mitchells, really, and their political leadership. Even if we don't have anything to scrutinize Deacon Mitchell by, because he doesn't have a public life in terms of public governance, but the way he managed the campaign, no mudslinging, the strategic vision that he presented, he's just sobering, calming. He takes complex things and break them down. I heard him in Fontenoy in a spot meeting, and he said, if you get a bottle of rum, it's for you to enjoy. If you get some board for your house, it's for you and your family to enjoy. But if we fix the road in Marlin, we could all enjoy. If we fix the health system, we could all enjoy. He was speaking about the concept of public goods without coming with any big theories. He said, it's about the government has a responsibility to provide for the collective. So it's not a model that should be individual gain for loyalty in return. And I must say this: the biggest irony, I think, of politics in post-revolutionary Grenada is that the original NNP under Herbert Blaise was established to rid Grenada of the culture of Gearyism. And what is that culture of Gearyism? Political victimization, dependency, loyalty, clientelism, where you give individuals patronage and clientelism. And the idea of the NNP was to rid Grenada of that culture. And the irony is, what the NNP originally was set up to destroy, it has embodied that which it was set up to destroy. And I think this is the work that we have to do to rid Grenada of a culture that says government is responsible for giving to me individually. So it's about how do we ensure loyalty through patronage. And in the context of poverty and dependency, that's a dangerous model. You can't go forward. You can't transform as you would want to. So the model has to change. And citizens have to understand that they are citizens first before they are voters. And they have responsibilities as the state has responsibility to them. And I think there's a lot that we need to do. The NNP has done what it needed to do for its time. And I think now there's a new pathway that must be forged for a new kind of politics in Grenada.
And we're here speaking with Dr. Wendy Grenade. She is a senior lecturer of political science at the University of West Indies. We're talking about the general elections yesterday, Thursday, the 23rd of June, and all that led up to it in the months. Now, would you say that the state of the economy coming out of, we're not fully out of the pandemic, but coming out of the pandemic in some sort, also contributed to that incumbent fatigue that we've observed in terms of the results of the general election?
Mind you, when you look at the performance of the NNP and the economy compared to the periods that the NDC was in office, you have to commend the NNP for fiscal discipline in terms of stabilizing the economy. The NNP does it well in stabilizing the economy, but does that sufficiently translate to transformation of the society? I think that's the gap. So I didn't hear a lot of issues. The economy wasn't a big issue in the election. I didn't hear about the pandemic. That wasn't a big issue because I think that the pandemic was managed well by the government. Yeah, for the most part. The pandemic wasn't a big issue. I didn't hear a lot about the economy. You know, in terms of there's a lot happening globally and so, but I don't know that people went to the polls voting on the question of the economy, questions of governance, questions of big things about what should Grenada mean, where should Grenada be going, hope for young people. I think the pension issue was a major issue, the issue of whether we have safer hands or whether we have inexperienced people, and I think those in the middle. I'm not speaking about the NDC mass base or the NNP's base. Those in the middle said, you could be experienced, but experienced in doing things that perhaps are not always right. We can't just start and end with experience, although experience is very important. So at the end of the day, I didn't see the economy playing a big role. Something was happening, Crystal. The society was shifting. So you speak to young people, and they say something about Deacon Mitchell. It was the Deacon Mitchell factor that he was able to rebrand the NDC, and people were yearning for a new kind of leadership in the NDC. That wasn't a leadership that was a reluctant leader. He's not a reluctant leader. Confident, calm, reassuring, inspirational. That's what he brought to the Grenadian people. And people said what? A lot of people were captivated by his ideas, by his town hall meetings. Whether that can translate to effective governance, we'd have to wait and see. But I think the way he managed the campaign, the strategic vision that he brought to it in this short time, gives me hope that even if he may be, and politically speaking, he's not young,
Well, yeah, let's talk about that in terms of course, we've heard jabs at him speaking of the NDC camp being inexperienced, not having much of a political or public governance positions. What type of challenges do you think they now have as a fairly new team getting into the seats of government as ministers, as MPs? What are some of the challenges you think they'll face, especially in the first 100 days in office?
Well, I think it's about how do you do an assessment of your public sector in terms of sitting down and being briefed. A lot of times you run for office, you win, and then you have to lead a ministry, as the case may be. And the public service was set up as a bureaucracy to help in transitions. So you have a permanent secretary who should be able to sit with a minister and brief a minister and say, this is happening, that's the state of events, the state of affairs, yeah? So the public service would become very important in terms of how the institutional capacity, and not just the institutional capacity, the political culture in the public sector, there's a lot of work that has to be done. But I think for the new government going in, it's about how do you prioritize healthcare, the economy, agriculture, education. There's one promise that was made in terms of TAMCC. If that one campaign promise could become a reality as a public policy, that could be transformative. Of course, the leader would have the big vision, and the technocrats would have to sit down and work out how then can this be done? How do we reprioritize, as the case may be? But in the first 100 days, it would be about what have you met there? What is an assessment of your economy? Given the world economy and what's happening in the global political economy, what have you met? So you need to be able to be briefed properly and then to chart your course, chart your path based on what you have inherited in the treasury and otherwise. And I think government, it must be about continuity. There's a national plan, and that should be able to guide in terms of what can you take from it that can help to in the transformative agenda.
Excellent. Gary, any questions for Dr. Grenade? And we can also open up the phone lines, 435-2041. We're talking about the elections that took place in Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique yesterday.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Wendy Grenade, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Oh, well, she can't hear you. Actually, I just realized she's not wearing headphones.
Oh,
but Gary was just saying good morning to you.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning. Grenadian, but I see you fighting that Bajan accent there. We need you home.
In fact, I would say that I am home.
Yes,
I have returned, and I'm happy about that.
Nice, great. With regard to yesterday, I've heard some people speak to the change in tide mid-election, latter part of the campaigning season, where there seemed to have been a visible change in momentum. Can you speak to that?
Right, and I felt it, in fact, and there was a shift. You would go wrong and you would speak to people, and the young people in particular, first-time voters, and they would say to you, but I want change. And I say, why you want change? Because there must be more, though. There was a shift. I think the NDC ran a very, very good campaign. The NNP made some missteps because they were running a campaign based on an old modality, where you attack. And if you're in a fight with somebody else and they're not there with you, you're fighting alone. And the old tactics of attacking the enemy, and Deacon Mitchell did not set up the other side as enemies. He almost made Dr. Mitchell invisible.
Do you think that's a generational shift that we're going to see continue?
I hope it does. Where you lift the game to such an extent that you go into a political campaign, not necessarily attacking, but you say, what do we want to see this country become? What are the ideas we have for farmers, for women, for fisher folk? What are we doing about Carriacou and Petit Martinique? What are we doing about Carlton Home and mental health issues? So I think the people who made a difference, they were turned off by attacks.
All right, so we have a caller on the line. Good morning, you're live on Good Morning Grenada.
Good morning. I just wanted to counter what Dr. Grenade is saying about the economy not being important. It's perhaps the most important thing that has to be addressed in the next 100 days. And it's because of high inflation, and it's because people can no longer afford to go to the supermarket and meet their basic needs. It's the most important thing that has to be addressed in Grenada. And the NDC has to make a concerted effort to address it as creatively and as immediately as it can. Thank you.
Let me respond.
Thank you so much for calling. Yes.
Thanks, caller. I think you misunderstood what I said. I'm not saying that the economy is not important. In fact, it is urgent. I'm saying as a campaign issue. There's some elections and the economy becomes at the forefront as a campaign issue. I didn't hear it in terms of it being a forefront of the campaign issue. I don't know that people went into the polling station thinking that I'm voting because I heard something that is speaking to the economy. We know that the economy is important, and I'm agreeing with you, sir, because when we look at what's happening with the world in terms of the global political economy, whether it's a war, whether it's this post-pandemic era, the economy becomes critically important and urgent in terms of what must be the plan for the economy. But what I was saying is, I did not hear it as a front burner big issue, even as it was there.
Okay. All right, we have another caller on the line. Good morning, you're live.
Oh, yes. Good morning, Missy. Morning to Gary, and morning to your guest, Ms. Grenade. Now, Ms. Grenade made a very important observation, which is the dependency syndrome, the handouts. And I think the administration got itself trapped with not growing the economy and had no choice but to hand out to survive. The economy was spoken about years ago constantly by me and many others. The growth of the economy was not there, so the economy could not deliver. And that is where we are. Now, I want to congratulate the new Prime Minister and his government, but he has a daunting task because you have to now focus on the economic development of the citizens. And it's only the economy to do that. Now, what aspect of the economy would you move first to do these things? Infrastructure, to create new commercial spaces, jobs, salaries, revenue. So I hope that they're embarking on that kind of program to shift this country. Other than they will fall right back into where we are. Have a great day, man.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, caller. And I think when we look at the two main political parties, one focuses predominantly on short term, and the other focuses too heavily on long term. So I think there has to be some meeting in the middle where you say, how do you ensure that there are safety nets for the vulnerable while you are not perpetuating and entrenching poverty? Right? How do you ensure that the vulnerable, the state has a responsibility for the vulnerable, the elderly, people who may have mental health challenges, and so forth and so on. And a distinction must be made between people who are healthy and can work and those who are vulnerable. Yeah? So we need safety nets. But at the same time, I'm agreeing with the caller that we have to, the economic transformation of Grenada is important, and it has to be done in phases. What then do you prioritize? So the NNP focuses a lot on the short term, I think. You know, a hustler government. The NDC focuses too much on long term and transformation. And somewhere we need balance in terms of how do you address short-term needs and still keep your eyes on the long term in terms of the vision and the transformation that is necessary.
Well said. It would be really good to see what that balance is between, because I believe both major parties have great ideas that we can marry for the greater good of Grenada. Let's see what this caller has to say. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning, Grenada. God bless Grenada. And congratulations to our new Prime Minister. He's so inspiring. We just have to give him some time. He will do what he has to do with God's guidance, because this one was a spiritual one. Okay, he came in there with, they conduct this whole campaign spiritually, and that's what God wanted. Grenada, the heavens are now open, and we are the ones now to do what we have to do. Relax, take our time. He's going to do a good job. We have to pray for him. And what I'm really calling for is for a national day of prayer. I think that's what we have to start, Grenada. It's a new dawn. Please, Mr. PM, a day of prayer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. I do believe Saturday and Sunday have been designated as National Days of Prayers, but that is by Deacon Mitchell. So that's the information we have at this point in time. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. We still have Dr. Wendy Grenade with us here in studio, offering her expertise as it relates to political science. We'll be back. This is Good Morning Grenada.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
carnival costume? Check. Monday wear? Check. Unlimited premium drinks? Check. Meals, security, cool-down bus, mobile restrooms, plus Vaughn and other international performances? Check, 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 and check. The Carnival Mass Band Nirvana is ready for the road for Spice Mass. Backline, midline, and frontline costumes for men and women. Nirvana is the perfect state of happiness on the road for Carnival Monday and Tuesday. Register now at nirvanaempire.com. Call or WhatsApp us on.
Please be advised that our office has been relocated to Steele's Commercial Complex, Grandance St. George. We at CGI, Consumers Guarantee Insurance Company Limited, look forward to serving you at our new location. Call us on telephone number 440-0217 or visit our website www.insurecgi.com.
RENDEC Community Partnership Initiative, supporting education.
To date, we have given 25 libraries away, and we are building the 26 in partnership with the Grenlec Community Partnership Initiative in Carriacou at Dover. It is the second grant that we would have got from Grenlec. We were able to build a 625 square foot library in Dover, and now we are so very grateful.
Grenlec, energizing our community.
Coughs and sneezes spread diseases. So cover coughs and sneezes, please. Not with a rag or bandana. They trap germs. When you use the rag again, you put germs on your hands and everything else you touch. When you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth and nose with tissue. Throw the tissue in a bin and wash your hands afterwards. If you don't have a tissue, cough into your sleeve or elbow. Alcohol-based hand sanitizers are also effective in cleaning hands.
FM 105.5 and 105.9.
Welcome back. We are here on Good Morning Grenada, 7 minutes on to 8 in the morning time. Today is Friday, the 24th of June, 2022, and it is quite a Friday after elections. There was lots of celebration in Grenada last night, especially in Lassajas and St. David, and we have not heard from the NNP. We haven't heard from the Prime Minister, that is, but we did hear from Roland Bola commenting last night on the GBN as a representative for the new National Party, where he actually congratulated Deacon Mitchell as well. We also have Gary, Mr. Smooth, in with us. Missy Chrissy here as well. Gary, what's going on your end?
Just yet chilling, man. You know, if you could recall the election where the NNP lost to the NDC, he was quite gracious in defeat. So give him some time, you know. He'll come around.
All right, and of course we have a senior lecturer on political science at the University of West Indies, Dr. Wendy Grenade, here with us. And I know you wanted to make a comment on something that the last caller said.
Yes. The last caller spoke about prayer. And I think, we are spiritual beings. And our anthem reminds us that, ever conscious of God as we aspire, build, and advance. And I think it's very important for us to be prayerful for our country, for our leaders. The church in Grenada is very divided. And I would hope that the church finds a way to heal itself by God's grace. I would hope that we see some kind of reconciliation so the church can remain light and salt to the nation. That's my plea, really, that the church in Grenada takes up its rightful position, shepherding the sheep and not being partisan. I think it's something that I would really want to see happen.
Now, as we move forward, what do you think is the possibility of the new National Party making a comeback in the next election? What do you think they can do in this next 5 years or less, because we're not sure when election will be called, to really make a comeback, really and truly?
Well, I wouldn't even use the term make a comeback. The NNP performed very well with, I think, 47.7%. I think that is what it got in 2008 as well. Now, the NNP is a formidable political party. And I think that because of the first past the post system, we don't always see votes translated to seats. But this time I think is a little bit proportional, more than it was in 2008 when the NDC got 11 and the NNP got only 4, with the same 47.7% I think it was. I think the biggest challenge for the NNP party is succession. And we've heard Dr. Mitchell say that plans are being put in place in terms of succession. I would hope that there's a democratic process within the NNP, so a leader could be elected in a democratic way. And but I have no fear that the NNP is a formidable political party. When the NDC renews itself, the NDC itself is also formidable. But what makes the difference is, and I haven't done the scientific study to say in terms of the independent voters, but I know a number of persons who voted for the NNP in 2013 and 2018 voted for the NDC this time. So when you think about the electorate, it's quite diverse. And you have the base for the NNP and the base for the NDC, and the bases change with demographic shifts as the society evolves. No base is cast in stone. Children grow up. You have incumbent fatigue, because I think what made a major difference in this election is the NNP, the traditional NNP supporters who switched their votes. A number of them would say to you, I've always voted for the NNP, but this time I'm not doing it. And you say, why? They say, no, they're too long and they do too much. And so incumbent fatigue. And but I think succession is a major challenge for the NNP in terms of how that party would continue to remake itself. Because political parties remake themselves all the time. The NNP of 1984 to 1989 is not the NNP of today. So parties remake themselves, but what happens to sometimes when leaders die, as we saw with the GULP, parties die with them. And I think that is what Dr. Mitchell is trying to avoid, in trying to say, he would stay on and mentor and ensure that the party, does not get its an early demise as it was. So I think the NNP will continue to be a formidable party. It has a strong base, and once there is succession that is transparent, I think it would always be a force to be contended with.
Now, you mentioned the GULP, and we did see the GULP appear in this general elections as well. And there was another smaller political party with presence. Of course, none of those received any seats, any constituencies. But what do you think can be done on their side for them to also build their base over the next 5 or less years?
No, in a democracy, it's always healthy when we have a multi-party system. But given the small size of our country, it's always difficult for third parties, and not just Grenada, other small states as well. It's difficult for third parties to make inroads. But I always commend third parties because I say, you know what? It's your right. It's your constitutional right to form a political organization and to participate in political competition. But given the small size in a predominantly two-party system, it becomes very difficult for third parties to make any kind of inroads. But I think what is very important is not always forming a political party, but engaged in public education, consciousness building. Civil society becomes very important if we are thinking about moving Grenada in a particular direction, with inclusiveness, moving away from this political divide. I think civil society plays a very important role in terms of social movements around issues, women's issues, youth issues, and so forth and so on. I would want to see a more engaged civil society in Grenada as well.
All right. Let's take this caller. Good morning. You're live.
Hello?
We're getting some feedback, so if you can turn down your TV or your radio and just listen to us on the phone. Are you ready for us? Good morning.
Yes, I am. Good morning to you and to Dr. Grenade. Now, I have two questions for Dr. Grenade. Does she think that the timing of the elections had an important influence on its result? And two, does she think that the device of inviting citizens, knowledgeable citizens, to address Parliament is called speaking before the bar of the House? Does she think that would enhance the democratic process in Grenada? It was offered by Siaga in Jamaica when he won an election because Manley's party didn't participate. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, caller. On your second question, I think, yes, there are several things that we can do to enhance our democracy, and I think that is one of them. Citizens have to be engaged more in the parliamentary process. I would want to see participatory democracy and the town hall meetings and so continue. But within the institutions of the state, how do we use our parliament? I think it's very important. I want to see an active parliamentary process, with select committees and citizens participating. I wish we had independent senators. What we have senators representing sectors and so forth. But in terms of independent senators who just think about the national interests in the Senate, I think that becomes important as well. So I'm agreeing with you. The timing of the election, I think because it was such a short window, that motivated the NDC. They didn't have a choice but to work hard at a campaign. You were coming from zero, and you came from zero and you gained 9. And the timing, it was a very short window, and I think the timing really spurred on the NDC to fight and win.
Excellent. 2 minutes after 8 o'clock, we are going to continue the conversation on the general elections. We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Greetings, and greetings to Dr. Grenade. The name is Citizen Rollo, Dr. Grenade. Listen, the NDC came out there like, quote unquote, an RIV. A rapid intervention vehicle capable of moving from 0 to 65 kilometers per hour in 4 seconds. They did a good job. We had to congratulate them. Listen, Dr. Grenade, you made some very interesting comments this morning. I do congratulate you on them too, and I'm fully in agreement with all that you said this morning. The only thing we have a problem with is that you didn't say the Constitution. But listen to me. Pardon? Let's go. Listen, one of the comments you made, this line is getting a little crackly there, but listen, the comments you made as it relates to the quote-unquote fiscal responsibility which the previous administration exhibited, the discipline. But I have a concern here. There are certain things that we have lived in this here country for years. In this here country, there's extreme poverty at a certain level in the society. Many of us in this here country do not eat proper meals during the day. In other words, there's a level of hunger, and no one can deny that. Additionally, there is a level, or has been, should I say, or exists, secrecy with the spending of the people's money that no one can ask questions about. But then, another manifestation, which leads to my question. The reports of the FROC, the Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee over the years of the tenure. We know them. They're written, they're public. How, therefore, Dr. Grenade, can you reconcile this high mark which you give to the previous administration on the fiscal discipline exhibited and the aforementioned observation of public life right there tangibly before us? Thank you very much and have a nice day. Will you?
Thank you so much for calling. Dr. Grenade, what do you have to say to the caller?
Hello, thank you for your comments. When I spoke about the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and so I think it's very important to ensure that our economic management, our public finances are kept in a prudent manner. But that is happening at the same time that we did not have a functioning opposition. So that you don't have the checks and balances, you don't have the accountability, and I think what is good now, we have what I assume is a strong opposition. So, Citizen Rollo, I think whatever decisions this incoming government would make, there would be scrutiny in the House. And that becomes important because you can have all the fiscal discipline you want and so forth and so on. If your mode of governance is such that there's secrecy, there's not transparency, there's not accountability because you don't have opposition, it means then that our democracy is compromised. So I'm happy that we have in our parliament, because a parliamentary democracy assumes a parliamentary opposition. And for too long, we've had a parliamentary democracy without a functioning parliamentary opposition. So it becomes important for democracy that we have scrutiny, that we have checks and balances, that we have the Public Accounts Committee, that we have select committees, and that we really energize our democracy in such a way that it can help to advance Grenada's cause.
Excellent. Now, looking at the results of the national elections, the general elections yesterday, we are seeing, based on the 6 seats that the New National Party won in the preliminary results, that is, we're seeing 4 of those seats being women. So we see Emmeline Pear, Kate Lewis, and Delma Thomas from St. Andrew. And then we also have Dr. Clarice Modest Cohen in St. Mark. The only other 2 seats by the males would be Peter David in the town of St. George and Dr. Keith Mitchell in St. George as well, but of course on his side there. What do you think that means in terms of the appetite for seeing female leaders in the constituencies?
Yes, and I really want to comment and congratulate all our women in politics in Grenada. I think it's a very it's important for democracy that we have women in politics, because women are the burden bearers of society. Women bring a different kind of eye to public policy and to legislation, and I'm really happy that we are at the place that we're at. And I must commend Dr. Mitchell for ensuring that in the political arena you have women in politics, and in the NDC we also saw female candidates, and I think it's very healthy. Whether in fact women could put on the legislative agenda the issues that affect women's lives becomes another question. But I think there is space for, there used to be the women's parliamentary caucus. I remember, I think it was sometime 2011 or 12, they had asked me to address them, and you had women from across the aisle, parliamentarians, and they would sit and they would think about the issues that affect women's lives. Because I always say, if whether it's a hurricane or whether it's COVID or whatever else, the hurricane never asks you how you vote. The issues that affect women, whether it's incest in the home or domestic violence or the feminization of poverty, these issues they don't affect you based on how you vote. So it's an opportunity for women to build and strengthen a women's movement and to have legislation in place for gender justice. And gender justice does not mean just the woman question, but it means how can we have a society where we center the issues that affect women and men and how power is used in terms of gender relations. So I'm quite happy that we have a number of women in politics, and I want to commend all of them. And I think there's a lot that can be done to strengthen a movement that centers gender justice in our democratic process.
Excellent. And on the NDC side, we have Karine James, who's also seeming to be one of the youngest MPs, or if not the youngest, in Grenada. We have a call on the line. Good morning.
Pleasant good morning to you. I dare say that Grenada needed a change, one way or the other, however you look at it. I would like to congratulate the incoming Prime Minister and hope that he avoids mistakes that were made on the other side. Now, I'd like to offer some suggestion. One, I do hope that the NDC make it possible, very possible, to educate the ordinary man. There are a lot of basic things that the ordinary man doesn't know. I would also like to see night school coming into Grenada. Civics being taught at school, and even at the night school you teach civics as well. I do hope that when Parliament is in session, that the NNP, despite the fact that they have lost, would support good moves by the NDC. Because to get there and oppose for the sake of opposing is not bringing Grenada forward. Again, I hope that the party that is voted into power do not make the mistake and say, well, all right, it's only NDC supporters that we're going to help. The oath that every person would take, every politician, is to serve the people of Grenada. And when once this is done, we can have no mistake at all. Another thing I would like to see is the Constitution being amended. There is need for such. And if this isn't done, we're going to find ourselves in monkey pants. And as a result of that, I think this is one of the ways with these two suggestions that we could be bringing Grenada forward. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Anything to say to that?
Yes, I agree with the caller fully. I think inclusiveness, Grenada belongs to all of us, and I would want to see the new administration govern in such a way that it is not governing based on color, based on how people voted. And a big part of that is sort of renewing the public sector so that a lot of what is now happening in constituency offices must be brought back to a bureaucracy that could be made to be efficient, where the resources of the state are allocated in such a way that there is impartiality. So I agree the call is about inclusiveness, it's about participation, it's about voice. Citizens must feel that they have a right to be in this place, because Grenada belongs to all of us, and the NDC has to learn the lessons from the past. It has to learn the lessons from the past, and we did not speak about some of the issues that have plagued the NDC in terms of intra-party conflict. I hope that they would be intentional about setting up mechanisms to deal with any kind of dispute or conflicts, because we can't go back there. You know, we want to ensure that this is a new path forward, and the lessons from the past must be learned. You cannot manage the economy in such a way. I remember in 2012, someone said to me, you know, good governance is about decision making. So it's about how do you make decisions in such a way that you are informed, and you have to be brave, you have to be bold, you have to be forward thinking, even as you have to deal with what is before you. So you have to change the tire as you drive the car, and there would be a lot of challenges, but I would want to see, Crystal, a kind of whole of society approach to governance, where we become conscious again and we decide to clean up our communities again. So the monies that we spend on the bushing, perhaps let's put it into new law or TAM CC, and let's there's a lot we can learn from the revolutionary period, where people claimed their societies, they took pride in their societies, and it's something that we want to see us do. You know, something Deacon Mitchell said a couple nights ago, he said, you know, when we look at the roundabout in front Lansopine, we have 3 tires. We want to move beyond having 3 tires for a roundabout, and we want to take pride in our society. This is important. It speaks to who we are, and communities become very important. Let's think about how we can beautify our communities, because it's symbolic of how we think and how we present ourselves to each other and to the world. So there's a lot we can do, and there's a lot that we can learn from our history in terms of people's participation in their own governance, being proud to build a Grenada that we all love.
Well said. Now, I wanted to ask you about the volatility or vulnerability in being a politician, because a lot of the time we would see that you would have someone in power for 5 years, but then as election is nearing, as we've seen now, if we are to speak about the NNP candidates, they're now going to be out of a job in a sense, unless they have something independently that they can fall back on. Does that model leave room for whether it's corruption or anything of the sort, just because you're now a little bit job insecure?
Yes, I think that's something that I would want to see changed. I remember we had a panel discussion one time at UE, and the lecturer asked the students, "What do you want to be?" And one student said, "I want to be a politician." And the lecturer was Andai, a Guyanese activist. She's now passed. May she rest in peace. She said, "You want to be a politician? A politician in or out of power?" And it was a Vincentian student. She said, "I don't understand what you mean." She said, "You want to be a politician in or out of power?" And I advise young students that you get a career, you serve. Politics is about people and it's about serving. You don't always have to be serving in frontline party politics. You get involved in community work and you get accustomed to service as a norm. Yeah, but you have something to fall back on. You have something to fall back on. When you look globally, many people who serve also have careers. So I would advise young people when they come to me and say, "I want to be a politician," I say, "A politician in or out of power?" You know, so it's important to have your careers, and that would be you have less an incentive to use the coffers of the state for financial gain. Yeah, as we see in many parts of the world.
Right, well said. All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up the conversation with Dr. Wendy Grenade. We have another caller. We can take one more caller before we close. Yes. Good morning, we're live.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Chrissy, and morning, Ms. Grenade. Like Mr. Rolo, I had difficulty understanding how Ms. Grenade could say that the ousted regime was good on stabilizing the economy. From where I sit, to me, they were wasteful, scandalous, and so on, so that whenever an alternative came in, they had to spend an awful amount of time cleaning up the mess. Beginning with Mr. Bazan in 1990 and also in 2008. So I cannot understand that. But in terms of what some of the things that we need to do right now, first of all, I think the new government will need to set up a unit to investigate the theft of the resources of Grenada and the misuse of the resources of Grenada, which was blatant to many of us, and also to ensure that people who have stolen from the collective is brought to account, and also to review all those projects that have been allowed to start or to destroy the environment, to destroy the ecosystems and so on. Finally, I would hope that the new government keep to the word of ensuring that there are village councils, there are people we need, and I agree with a lot of what she said. But there's some contradictory things that she also says. We need to have, in fact, I would say people focusing on the economy. We should be focusing on the society. It should be focused with the economy serving as the servant of the society, not the other way around.
Thank you, caller.
Yes.
All right.
Caller, I am agreeing with you, especially with the economy and the society. Let me explain. When I said that the fiscal discipline, on paper, the Grenadian economy looks well in terms of our debt to GDP ratio and our other macroeconomic indicators, in terms of how we manage the fiscal, but that is insufficient. When you manage the fiscal and you say, okay, we have this percentage growth and we have managed inflation and so forth and so on, does that translate to what the caller is speaking about in terms of societal change and transformation? So you could be saying we have a reduced wage bill, but in fact, the workers who are on contract, you're paying them, but on paper, you are not seeing your wage bill increasing, even as that, because you are working your books in such a way that you can have category 340 or whatever category it is for professional and other services. So at the end of the day, on paper, the Grenada economy looks well, relatively so. But does that sufficiently transform to human and social development? And it was the late Prime Minister of Barbados, David Thompson, who said we do not only have an economy. Caller, to agree with you. He said we don't only have an economy, we have a society. And I think this is where the new frontier has to focus. You have to have a strong economy, but that economy cannot on its own do what it's supposed to do if we are not focusing simultaneously on the society and the polity, because this is where governance comes in. And when I said that, you had the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and so that is very good, I support that, but you having that in the context of governance arrangements where you do not have a parliamentary, you have one opposition leader, but you do not have a thriving, dynamic opposition. So you're doing this fiscal discipline in the context of lack of accountability and checks and balances in your parliamentary system without a robust, dynamic civil society to scrutinize as a watchdog. So at the end of the day, you can have all the fiscal discipline you want, but how is that fiscal discipline translating to economic development that is meaningful and sustainable? And how is it being managed in terms of your wider governance arrangements? And this is where I think there was a disconnect in terms of the governance arrangements and the quest for fiscal discipline.
Excellent. All right. So we're about to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Grenade. It's such an honor having you here, just kind of dissecting all that's happened last evening, as well as over the last few months in Grenada as it relates to the general elections. Anything you'd like to leave us with? What do you think would be those important factors moving forward with this new government?
I think governance. How should Grenada be governed? What should be the new modalities for governing? And beyond that, how do we heal our society? Grenada is bitterly divided. How do we move beyond the political divide? How do we ensure that governance is inclusive of all? Many of the supporters of the NNP, as I said earlier, got up this morning and I guess they're feeling as if, they feel dejected, they feel distraught, they're surprised. What do you do to ensure that they have a right to this place? They must never feel as if, it's our time now. As some NDC supporters may be thinking. I would never want to see the NDC govern in that way, where you say, it's our time now. No, it's all of Grenada's time now. And I think the NDC has a responsibility to learn the lessons from the past, to build trust. State-society relations are really depend heavily on trust, and I think they have to gain the trust. People trusted enough to vote them in, and I think they have to maintain that trust in terms of keeping the promises, being honest, being transparent, and always involving the people. Continue the town hall meetings, continue the social media outlets. I mean, that's a new kind of techno-democracy that is so good. Not everybody would be able to tune into news, but use social media in a very responsible way and continue the town hall meetings, engage in participatory democracy. Let people stand up again and say to you, this is what we would want to see happen, and listen, take it on board, be honest with people, and start slowly. Do an assessment of what is. Prioritize. Communicate with people. Ensure that people are involved in their own governance, because power belongs to the people, Crystal, and power is very transient, and people will again vote you out if you don't fulfill the promises and if you don't govern in a way that ensures that Grenada moves forward as you promised. So I really want to congratulate Deacon Mitchell and the NDC for this victory from 0 to 9. I think it was miraculous, and I really wish them well. It's a lot of hard work. The election is one issue, but the matter of governing as a cohesive team, they have to do a lot of team building to ensure that they glue themselves together. And I think the NDC can remake itself. It is remaking itself. And I trust that the NNP as well would have succession planning that would allow Grenada to thrive with political parties that really are transformative. I hope that young people, as energized as they were to vote, I hope they continue to participate in the process of governing and be involved in their communities. I want to see communities thriving, skill centers in community centers, and we have sometimes moved away from the whole question of community. Let's again reach back for that spirit, that Grenadian spirit that is really based on community. We are all in this because we are Grenadian. And what does it mean to be Grenadian? It doesn't mean that you're NNP or you're NDC. It means there's something that holds us together, ever conscious of God as we aspire, build, and advance as one people.
Yeah. Thank you so much. What a great ending there. Dr. Wendy Grenade joining us. She is the senior lecturer of political science in the University of West Indies. It's so good to have you here.
Yes, and I must say I'm actually back, and I'm happy to be home.
Excellent,
yes.
Excellent. Well, we're happy to have you back, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again very soon.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Keep it locked right here. It's Good Morning Grenada. We're going to lock off the segment on TV now, and on behalf of myself, Missy Chrissy, as well as Gary, Mr. Smooth, thank you so much to all of you who have been watching us on the screens. We are still going to be live on TV, of course, with other programming, and of course also on the Classic 105.5 FM and Hot FM. Thank you so much. We'll see you again on Monday. But of course, there's more on radio.